Hello, everyone. So, today I am here to talk about the Song Dynasty primarily, but what I'm going to do first is get you started with the dynasty that came before them, the Tang, to show how they fell, and then the Song rose. So, let's get right into it. So, the Tang Dynasty preceded the Song Dynasty. They followed the Sweet Dynasty, which reestablished dynastic control in China after the Han and few hundred years in between of chaos. So we're not going to worry about them right now. But the Han Dynasty was founded in 618 by Li Yuan. He is your key leader, and then would also later on be massively expanded by the Emperor Taizong. Land-wise, I mean, it was a huge, huge empire. It was one of the largest Chinese empires of all time. And also at this time, it was really well known for the time period in which Buddhism would explode within China as well. Now, as you can see here, the Tang controlled a huge amount of land that went all the way over north of Kashmir. So this is one of the largest land control areas of any Chinese dynasty of all time. Now, really, the key thing that kind of will end up starting the ball rolling on the fall of the Tang, which will lead to the rise of the Song, was the An Lushan Rebellion. This was led by a man by the name of An Lushan, as you see there. Brutal, lasted from 1755 to 763. An Lushan was a military leader who rebelled against the emperor and early on had a lot of success, controlled most of northern China, and actually created his own dynasty called the Yan Dynasty. And at one point, they actually do get rid of the emperor. However, after he started control or gain control, he had issues with his generals. Some of his generals did not leave him. Some decided to defect back to the Tang. Others just kind of wanted to go their own way. And then what also hit them, the Tang decided to bring in help from the outside, part of the interconnectedness of the world. They bring in both Arab mercenaries and they cut a deal with the Uyghurs, who I'll be talking about more later on in a different video, which was a tribal group out in Western China to help them aid in destroying the Yan, which they do. However, this devastated China. You're looking at 16 to 36 million people were killed, depending on the source. That gives up anywhere from 1/4 to 1/3 of the population of China. And just to give you an idea, that was anywhere from 5 to 16% of the population in the world. One, that shows you the scope and size of China compared to the rest of the world, which is kind of going to be this prevailing theme throughout the year, is that it's like, okay, we have this here and this here, but in China it's bigger. And in China it's bigger. And in China there's more people. Like, everything really tends to always be on a larger scale in China than anywhere else. And the devastation of this, you're losing 1/4 to 1/3 of your population. Even though they're victorious, it's going to weaken the Tang. Now, it's a slow fall, but it's a fall nonetheless that will kind of set the tone for them. And in the end, you get a little group. They break away here. They can't control another province there. And then by around the year 907, the Tang Empire is shattered into about 5 or more different dynasties controlling different areas of what we know as China today. This will allow for the rise of the Song Dynasty. So I want to have a quick word. If you look on this map here, you'll see Southern Song and Northern Song. The Song Dynasty is going to have 2 distinct periods, okay, in which they control different areas. So if you look at these 2 areas here, so the Southern Song is here, but the Northern Song, which do last from 960 to 1279, Northern Song is going to be this kind of lighter shaded area. So the Northern Song will control this, and then eventually the Southern Song will be down here, okay? And we'll get into that. So the first time period is often referred to as the Northern Song. And then when their empire is going to get a little bit smaller, they call it the Southern Song. So this dynasty was founded by Zhao Guanging, who eventually will take the title of the Emperor Taizu. Okay. Um, he is, again, in 960, going to be able to consolidate this area and create the Song Dynasty. He will have his capital at the city of Kaifeng, and we are off and running. So the government is very, very important. I'm going to talk about this in a couple different places here throughout these videos, so it's super crucial. The idea was when Taizu gets into power, one of the issues that had existed before him, and he saw the issues with the Tang, is that I have to make sure that generals don't seize crazy amounts of power. So what am I going to do with that? Well, this is what I'll do. I'm going to set up a system in which everything is going to be based on merit. And I'm really going to pour, me being the emperor, going to pour a lot of resources into the developing of the civil service system. Okay, the concept here is that basically all government positions you actually have to have a certain level of qualification for. And that it existed during the Han Dynasty and other dynasties as well, but the Song are going to put tons of resources in it and basically expand it, all right? And the idea here is that they really, really focus on that people that are involved in government and administration have to earn it on merit. So they go to school, they take tests under rigorous conditions, no cheating, anything like that. And with the schools, what's really crucial is that they actually set up a lot of schools, okay? And they set it up in a way that, yes, you do have to pay for the school, but they don't make it so expensive that people from kind of what we would refer to today as the middle class or even upper lower class would actually have opportunities that they could save up and send their children to these schools. Now, to be fair, most people were from higher status families. Most people were from what we would call nobility. But for the first time, the opportunity really is there for lower class families to save up and to send their family on a different direction because they can get their children into school. And so this was the key thing that you need to know about the Song. Their longest lasting legacy, because people will really, really, the rest of the dynasties will buy into this big time. The other idea is to unify the emperor. And when we talk about unification of the empire, it is not just in the sense of everybody worships the emperor and we should all do that. It's actually a physical unification. They are going to massively expand on the Great Canal that was actually finished off by the Sui, which is one of their biggest legacies. And as you can see here, the right, that is a map of the Great Canal or the Grand Canal. There are other side canals that come off it, but this is huge because you can get goods up and down China without necessarily having roads, because you use the rivers that are there, and then you can build canals that go next to them or connect them, and it's a lot faster than doing everything on foot. He's also going to have Taizu and others will then have cartographers create maps of all the regions of China's and the major cities and how to get to and from. They're going to compile all this into atlases so that people really have an opportunity to move around. And he also will expand road building projects. We're really going to make sure that we have more and more roads, and this is good for the military. This is good for economics. I mean, it's crucial. Now, warfare is going to be pretty common. It's something that they're going to have to deal with a lot. And one group who will eventually bang them up pretty good will be the Khitans of the Liao Dynasty, or I think it might be the Lo Dynasty. You can feel free to check my pronunciation on. They are just to the north, so you see the Songs down here. Here's the Liao. And they've been fighting off for years and years and years. Actually, early on, they do have a victory over the Khitans, which you see a picture of them on the right here, and if you see them on the horses. So what they end up doing is they plant a huge forest up in this region here to try to take the advantage that the Khitans have with their cavalry away. And it was really, really interesting how that kind of worked. A creative solution and, very green. However, post 1005, the Song decide that they're not going to try to fight them anymore. They have a couple strings of defeats, but the Khitans can't really completely get down into the song. So what they're going to start is a process of basically just buying them off. Okay, and this is going to be a big thing that they do. So the song, and this gives you an idea of how good their economy was. Like, their big thing is, we are just going to pay everybody off. Our economy is so big that we are just going to pay all people off, and it's going to work out great. And for a while, whether it's tribal groups that are to the west or it's the Khitans in the north, that becomes the thing, that we bolster the economy so we can pay off these groups to just leave us alone. One group, however, long-term that won't do that will be the Jurchens. The Jurchens are an ethnic group within the Khitan that they don't like the Khitan. And at one point in the early 1100s, they will rebel from the Khitan and they will create their own little empire and their own little mini dynasty called the Djinn. And here's what's really interesting. What the way that it starts is that the Djinn will ally first with the Song to defeat the Khitans. So early on, as I have here the Djinn, and here's some pictures of them here, some art depicting them in the Middle Ages. They are able so they're going to be with the Chinese to start the Song. They are able to conquer the Khitans, but then eventually they want more, and they will fight wars with the Song from 1125 to 1127. And we're going to keep it really short. The Jin are going to crush them. They're going to capture the city of Kaifeng. And they will capture the current emperor, Emperor Huizong. You don't need to know him. And he will, they'll actually end up keeping them in captivity forever, and they'll die that way. And then the rest of the Song are able to retreat under the Emperor Gaozong, and flee south of the Yangtze River, and they'll create the second half of their dynasty. So the northern half will now be run by the Jin, who will create their own dynasty under first emperor of the Jin, Taozu. So not to be confused by another one. And so that's like kind of the northern Song. That's how that ends up working. So we have the initial Song. They fight some wars. They do okay. They finally lose a pretty big war. They're going to have to retreat to the south, but the Song aren't gone yet. All right, so that's our introduction to them. I will continue, and then we'll have separate videos that talk about religion and their achievements and all that type of stuff, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you soon.